Bonjour tout le monde. Hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Learn French with Madame. So today we are going to talk about the verb recevoir. And so you can see on my paper here, I've written out at the top a title of what we're learning today, and I've on the left-hand side drawn my little table chart. So since I'm all set up, let's go ahead and start. The first thing I want to talk about is, what does the verb recevoir mean? So recevoir in English means to get or to receive. So to get or to receive. And so on the left-hand side, let's just go through and conjugate it. I am going to go through, and before we start, draw a little outline of my boot. And so you should be a little familiar with this. We're going to outline everything in the boot. I'm going to highlight it in yellow, but if you have a different color that you'd like to use, you're welcome to use that. I'm just going to use yellow because I think it helps it stand out a little bit. And so I've kind of outlined my boot, not very well, but this is why Madame does not teach art. So let's go through and write down our stem. Now, recevoir is a little bit irregular, which is why we're learning it on its own. So the first thing that I'm going to do is write down the stem for everything in the boot, because everything in my boot, or in my shape that I've outlined, is going to have the same stem. So the same stem for everything inside my boot here is recevoir. So receau. So R-E-C-C-D-O. So that is going to be the stem for everything inside of the boot. So if you're following along at home and you want to go ahead and write all these down, now would be the time to do it. All right, so I've got my stem written down for everything in the boot. And now I'm just going to go through and write out the stem for everything outside of the boot, that nous and vous form. Now, the nous and the vous form are still going to have the same stem, except we are going to take off that OIR. So we're going to take off the OIR instead of just the IR. So for nous and vous is going to be R-E-C-E-V, receive. All right? So now that we've got our stem written down for all of them, let's add on our endings. So for il, elle, on, and for tu, or if I'm sorry, for je and tu, they are going to have the same ending, and it's going to be es. So je reçois, tu reçois. All right, for il, elle, and on, in our bottom box here, it's similar but a little bit different. Reçoit avec it, with it. Up next is the nous form. The nous form is quite nice because it still has that same ending, so ons. And the vous form is nice as well because it still has that same ending, z. And now the il, elle plural ending is where it's a little bit confusing. It's I-V-E-N-T. So I-V-E-N-T. Reçoive. So a little quick pronunciation, we have je reçois, tu reçois, il, elle, on reçoit, nous recevons, vous recevez, and il, elle reçoivent. So let's do a couple examples. Also, a little helpful hint, by the way, the past participle is reçu. So that might be helpful to know later on. Reçu is the past participle of recevoir. If you wanted to say, I received a good grade, or I got a good grade, you'd say, j'ai reçu. Okay, so let's talk about exemple. Exemple. So I've got exemple on the right-hand side here. Exemple, we are going to do a couple different examples, and I'm going to write these in a different color. So la première exemple, the first example, we're going to say, I received a good grade in French. Parfait. Perfect. We always receive good grades in French. So we're going to start off with our subject, so je. Now we need to write down our verb. And so looking at our table on the left-hand side, we're going to say reçois. So je reçois une bonne note And let's say en la classe de français. En la classe de français. So, je reçois une bonne note en la classe de français. I receive a good grade in French class. Up next, we are going to do l'exemple. We receive a gift. We receive a gift. So, en premier, notre sujet, our subject, nous, et puis le verbe, recevons. Et puis la dernière, the last part, un cadeau. Un cadeau. Okay, exemple numéro 3. Example 3. Let's do one in the passé composé using our past participle reçu. So let's say he received a bad grade in chemistry class. Don't tell your chemistry teacher. Let's say he received a bad grade in chemistry. So, en premier, notre sujet, il, et puis l'avoir, the helping verb, l'auxiliaire. Et puis, le participe passé, the past participle, il a reçu et une mauvaise note en la classe de chimie. Reçu une mauvaise note en la classe de chimie. Il a reçu une mauvaise note en la classe de chimie. Okay, et la dernière exemple, the last example pour aujourd'hui, for today, they received a dog or they get a dog. So they receive a dog or they get a dog. En premier, le sujet, so elles reçoivent, le verbe reçoivent. Et puis l'objet, the object, un chien. Elles reçoivent un chien. They get a dog. J'espère que le verbe recevoir est facile. I hope that the verb recevoir is easy. It might take a little bit of time for you just to remember the different stems and how they switch. But if you notice that everything inside of that boot gets rid of the E and changes to an O with a CD, but everything else outside of it stays the same. Hopefully, this isn't too hard. Si vous avez des questions, if you have questions, ou si vous avez des problèmes, or if you have problems, envoyez un email, send an email. Stay tuned et à plus.